Good evening, everybody, and welcome once again to your Investment Dominator live Q&A call. And I'm Warren Davis, and I have the pleasure of being able to work with you all today. This is a beautiful Monday. It is Columbus Day, the 14th of October. Can you believe it? We are almost in the holiday season. And want to do a quick sound check. Good evening to you, Bill. Hopefully everybody can see my screen and my indicators indicate that you can hear me. But yes, thank you, Neil. Have up the LPG Deal Flow chart. Excellent. So everybody can see that. We're going to get right into answering your questions. Thank you for that sound check and site check. Right after we look at, for those that are just joining us for the first time, maybe, we have some people that join every week, just about for the last few weeks, that are brand new. So we want to make sure you know how to answer your questions. Please send in your questions. Just type them in, or your comments in this question box here. And don't worry about raising the hand, because I seldom can see that with so many sometimes comments and questions coming in. And if you have a question, if you could precede the question with a question mark or the word question, that will help me greatly to distinguish between the comments and the questions. You guys have been really good about doing that, and I appreciate it so much, especially with several of you being on the call. So getting your questions answered, and as I normally do, I'm going to start with the questions from our previous webinar, which was on Thursday, so to make sure that since I didn't get to those questions, I will get to them today. And the same thing, if I don't get to your question today, I will definitely get to it by Thursday, 12 noon. And so far as any public service announcements, the only announcement I do want to make is I'm working on I should say the Thursday, 1 week from Thursday will be I believe the 25th, if I'm not mistaken, of October. We'll be having a 3-day main event, or a 3-day event, live event in Denver. And so I'm scheduled to be there for that 3-day live event. So I will be traveling on that Thursday. I think my flight gets in right around 11:30 or 11:40. So obviously I won't be able to be on the webinar that particular Thursday. Now I'm working with someone right now. We'll see if it's going to be canceled or not. But if it is canceled, you should have an email in your inbox stating, that the event has been, or that particular webinar has been canceled. But again, not this Thursday coming up, but a week from this Thursday. We won't be here. We'll be in Denver. Okay, it looks like some of you other folks are going to be in Denver. All right. Okay. All right. Let's see. Okay, excellent. I'm going to get a chance to see quite a few of you in live and in person. And those of you that I've talked to on the onboard calls, which leads me to my very first question that we had from Thursday. There was a question asked, what are these onboard calls that students are referring to? And the onboard calls are simply, they're 2 half-hour sessions with myself, one-on-one, and those are usually for the students that are, they've signed up for the mentoring. Some have signed up for the mentoring, but majority of them are going to the 2-day Investment Dominator workshop. So when we have an Investment Dominator workshop coming up, you actually will have 2 sessions with me for a half hour, and you get to just ask all your questions. And basically, we're setting you up for that 2-day workshop because we want you to get the maximum out of the 2-day workshop. And there are certain items that we want you to have completed by the time you get to that two-day workshop. So that's what those 2 half-hour sessions are. And so that's usually for the folks that have signed up for that. or that have, work something out and are having they have coaching, but they still are going to get 2 of those sessions. So, and that's what that is about. And in terms of the cost, for, let's see, the 2-day event, um, that is that's not something I can go over with you on this call. Um, that you'd have to call the office and speak directly with the office, because they sometimes change the pricing structure as needed. And I would hate to tell you one cost and then it ends up being more, or I mean, obviously you'd be happy if I told you one cost and it was less. I'm sure you'd be thrilled. Um, but the best thing to do is to call the office, and they will let you know whatever cost you will have to give up to be in that 2-day workshop. But it is very well worth it. The 2-day workshop, we go into the entire deal flow. So just as I was, displaying on my screen here just a moment ago, when we talk about, just real quick, the LPG deal flow, we go through this entire deal flow in a period of 2 days. Now, keep in mind, this deal flow could probably take someone a month or so. Even really cranking, it could take you a month to go through this entire deal flow. Some people it takes a couple of months. So we're talking about selecting your target market, then getting your list, mailing your letters, and talking to sellers, how to do that, doing any preliminary research for those that say, hey, I want an offer on my property, mailing out your offers and your option agreements. Then finally opening escrow and doing a very detailed deep dive into the county about that parcel. All of this deal flow is covered in a 2-day session. So that's why we give you the onboard calls to set you up for the 2-day session, and it's extremely helpful to get you ready, and then you get the maximum out of that 2-day course. So it's well worth it. Just so you know, when we were coming into the business, we took the Investment Dominator 2-day workshop, and I tell you, sometimes I felt like I was drinking from a fire hose, but it it was extremely helpful, and I would encourage anybody, if you can, call the office and get signed up for that. You will not be disappointed. It's a really good time. So from the other day, thank you for letting me share that with you all. The other day, we had another question from Bill: is how do you change items on the offer letter? Or in other words, basically creating a custom offer letter. And this is something that we've been over a few times. And I want to point you also to an article. So, how do you change things on the offer letter or anything on the offer letter? Search your user guide, and you can just type in Jack and search, and up will come a series of articles. So you can how to customize Jack's offer templates, how to customize Jack's neutral letter, and then there are these other trainings where we've actually gone over this in detail. But just a very high level, you'd bring up this particular article. Now remember, for the offer letter, there's an offer letter template, and then there's an offer agreement. So we're talking about the offer template. So there's an offer template and a cover letter template, basically. So there's 2 documents that you could change the information behind that. So I'm going to leave that up and just give you an idea what some folks are changing on one of the offer letter templates. Let's say we'll look at that first, the offer cover letter. As we open it up, one person wanted to add, which they were concerned about. Let's see. It'll call you, make arrangements. This particular paragraph here, and this is already in the cover letter, but one change they wanted to make to the actual offer agreement was you see here where it says, I will call you to make arrangements to complete transaction through a local title company, notary, or attorney. Okay, so you see it says here, or attorney, and that's what had to be changed based on their state law for when the document someone's going to sign, it has to have the word of attorney. It has a reference an attorney. So if you look at a regular offer that comes out of that's one of the built-ins, the sale agreement is actually what we call it here. If you can see, it says this sale will be closed by a reputable title company or notary public, but the actual reference to the attorney is not there. So that's what they were changing, is they wanted to add that so that it came out showing. So that's an actual change. And very high level, that article I just showed you shows you how to create or add a custom document. So you come here and add a custom document and then select land only. I'm going to go through real fast so that we can move on. And custom agreement. And basically its status is, excuse me, your offer. So you're impending preliminary research and portrait. And here's where you select that source, okay, which disables all of your HTML code. Now here, you wouldn't be changing the offer cover letter template. You'd be changing the actual custom template. And here's where you would click on the text. But I'm going to show you it comes back in this HTML code. We don't expect you to be able to modify that, but you do need to copy all of it. So you'd select it with your cursor, dragging your cursor to the very bottom, or if you didn't do it that way, you could do a Control A. Control A does exactly the same thing. It would get all of your data. Then you do a Control C to copy that data. And you bring it back in. And when you put your cursor up here in this left-hand corner, do a Control key with the V as in Victor. And it brings all of that HTML code. We copy that right into our text area. Then you hit source again. Okay, and that puts you right back here in your English mode where you can understand what it's saying. Then you'd come down here to the place where it says this sale will be closed by a reputable title company or notary public, or okay, Warren, or attorney. That's basically the change they wanted to add. So I'm going to highlight that so we make sure we see that. And there you go. Then you come down and of course you would have to fill out all of the rest of your information. You want to make sure you select label, and I think all export, you want to keep that yes. Keep yes for bulk. Each property, select yes. And of course you want to move it to, after that, offer option sent status, right? So you're going to add this. Now remember, we call it Bill's Custom Agreement. That's what we're calling that one. So then once you add that, and you could put any other additions you wanted, we recommend that you don't modify these documents because they're built in, but there are some, based on some state laws, individuals had to make minor tweaks to the offer letter. So here you have Bill's Custom Agreement. If we do a document preview that we've already created, there's our change right there in or attorney, right? So the only other thing I want to point out here is that sometimes what our students fall into is when they generate documents and they come into the offer area, they expect this offer at this level to be different and to have their changes. But remember, we called it Bill's offer agreement, right? So it's down here in the customize section. It's in the custom document template. So make sure you check for any changes you make when you make a custom document down here in the custom area. And this is where you'll find the changes that you actually made. And that's about as far as I think I need to go into that. That's basically how you'd make the changes. And if you have any problem at all, let me know on the next call and we will get that handled for you. Okay, let's see. Oh, well, let me check something here. Oh, I just think I just closed it up. Okay, quick question. Hopefully I could knock that out, but he said it was an offer number 7. Let's see. Try to get to that real quick so I can understand what you're saying. Okay. Okay, so number 7, there was a question on the offer acceptance. I believe Don is asking how to change number 7 on the offer agreement. And it says, okay, this offer shall expire on 10/24, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time if not accepted within that time. Okay, you could actually come in and change it to Pacific Time if that's what you want. It could be changed just as easy as what I just shared with you, is changing it in the actual documentation or this code here, because as you can see, that's hard coded there. And let's see if I still have that up in the area. I don't think I do. No, since I already created my custom document. Let's see. Let's see if I can go back in the custom documents, and we'll go down here to the bottom of our list and we'll edit that particular document, come down to number 7, and I don't know why that's hard coded Eastern Standard Time, but it is. You can change it here. You can come in and just modify this and just say specific time if you want, and make sure you save it, and yours will say Pacific Time. That's as easy as it is to do. So good question. Let's move on here. Hope that captures that one for you, Don. Let's see. Okay, yeah, some of you are asking good questions on actually the deal flow process, and that these are very important. I'm gonna see if I can get to them. Okay, and just so you know, those of you that are on the onboard calls, I think Michael's asking a question. For the onboard calls, you simply have to call the office, and I don't have the office number handy, but the same office that you would call. See, do I have it handy? I don't think I do. I'd have to look it up real quick. But the office that should be on either one of your emails from Jenny Peterson, she can definitely help you get any recordings of those onboard calls. Let's see, to receive a link, and because I record every single one of those calls, and then at the end of the call, I will upload the link to where the office folks can get a hold to it, and they will just email you that link, and you can go right in and listen to anything that we have covered. And I encourage, a lot of folks have been taking advantage of that because they can, they can slow everything down. They can pause it whenever they want, and they look at exactly what I did, and it helped them duplicate their issues and duplicate their resolutions to the issues, and that's working out very well for us. So that's how you would handle that. Okay. Okay. And that's a good questions coming in. You guys are on it today. Okay. A lot of these are basic questions on our deal flow. I've got to get to some of the questions that I didn't get a chance to get to on the last webinar that we had on Thursday. And so we will start to cover some of those. Let's see. I'm going to cancel out of this. So we had some questions which haven't come up for a while, but they have to do around, and it could be a little lengthy discussion, but it's around links. Basically in the Investment Dominator, how to add private and public links. And so we've covered some rather basic questions, and I just want you all to be patient with us here because remember I was sharing with you, we have two different levels of individuals on our webinars now. One level is that individual that has not gone through the 2-day workshop. So obviously some of those questions may be a little more basic, which is absolutely nothing wrong with that, because that's what that's what we're here for, is to handle all levels. And then those of you that have been through the 2-day workshop, a lot of your questions are a little bit more senior, which I would expect them to be after the 2-day Investment Dominator workshop, and you've had a chance to go back and maybe implement some of what you've learned in your business. So with those two mindsets on the same call, I'm gonna try to cover some basic questions, and then I'll go back and hit some more advanced questions. This one might be considered more of an advanced question, but you will come up against it sooner or later because you're at the point where you're adding listings. I've even got a couple of questions here on listings and setting up listings in the Investment Dominator. So one of the key things when you're ready, after you've gone through the deal flow, after you've done your preliminary research, someone has said, hey, I want an offer on my property. You've given them an offer. They have come back, said, I accept your offer. Now you're doing your research. You're doing a deep dive now because you want to market that property. So you go, obviously, I'll just open it up. From pending preliminary research, to offer option sent. And then of course, when they say I accept your offer, you're going to open escrow here and you're going to do a detailed search. Now, after you do that detailed search and you've gotten all your information from the county, your next step is to complete ready to sell. And I'm just going to say this one little interject here before I get into the, how do you add private and public links. One thing that our students are getting kind of hung up on, doing this detailed research here. Okay, and I'm just gonna mention that real quick before I get into actually how do you add public and private links. The detailed research, I can tell from some of the questions that I'm getting with regards to marketing and putting these, when you get a parcel under contract, putting them on your website, the information that's being shared, I can tell that there hasn't been a whole lot of detailed research. And when I say that, meaning actually calling the county and determining if there are any issues with that property. This is a very important step that you don't want to miss here. So how to do your detailed research. And I can't go into it on this call, obviously, But that is something that is being kind of overlooked in the process. And so what's happening is, you know, some students are putting parcels out for sale. They get them in complete ready to sell mode, and they're putting them out on the website, but they haven't really done a lot of detailed research here. And what happens is when a buyer calls and they're asking specific questions about that property, you know, you're answering the question, well, I don't really know. You want to find out if as much as you can from the county about the area that particular parcel is in. And remember, you're calling a county where people have lived in that county for years. A lot of those folks that are on the county that answer the phone, they know about your property. They know more about the property in the area than you do because they've actually lived there. They have driven down the streets. They've seen it. They've seen it when it's in rainy weather. They've seen it when it's in sunshiny. They've seen it when it's in, it's windy. Is it in a flood zone? Um, and even though the county may not have it be in a flood zone, they can tell you, yeah, well, over there on, Johnson Street, it floods all the time. So it's very important that you get as much information before you go into complete ready to sell mode as you can, so that people, your customers that call in, you can give them as much information as you can, so that they realize that you know about that property, and that goes a long way with you actually making a sale. So that's really all I'm going to get into about that. Is just don't gloss over your detailed research. So when you're in complete ready to sell, adding public and private links is a pretty big deal. And I'm gonna get back to and find a record that are incomplete ready to sell. And I believe you'll find this helpful when you get to that point, because your private links will help you have information on that particular property. Your public links are what you're going to actually show to the public. So how to add private and public links that will show up on your selling site, your view details page. Links are used primarily to provide the additional information to your potential customers. It keeps your listings clean, and it keeps them, from being cluttered. So very important to use links properly, and you help your customers also know information about where that parcel is located. If it's in a good school zone, if it's there's utility companies in the area, if there's information um, that will help them make a decision on purchasing that property, these are what your links are for. So just so an example real quick, so we can make a link that is, we'll start first with the private link, and you scroll down to the links area. You can see here in your record. And remember, this is usually done with the records that are in complete ready to sell, because these are the records that are going on your different sites. So you hit add link, and we're going to leave it as private. And for this particular one, I'm going to put a map together, put a link that's going to actually bring up a map of a actual county record. So we can call this a county GIS site map. Okay. And for our description, we're just going to say it displays county map info. All right. Now this URL is HTTPL. This is just as if you were to type this into your address bar up here and go directly in. So that's basically what you're looking for, a URL. So you've already been on the county map, and you know exactly where that particular map is, where it's going to show up, right? It's going to show up in at this particular location, and along with that, this post variables, okay? is going to be a specific PIN number or whatever that particular county map requires to find any specific maps. So you paste this PIN. Now this PIN is actually going to go to a specific parcel, the parcel that I'm selling. So I'm selling this parcel that we see the record I'm in. So this is going to be a map to this specific parcel. And once you have this information, all you do is you say add. Now again, you've acquired this information because you've been on the county map and you basically copied this information from your address bar up here, right? When you're on a particular map. And so you know this is the path to get to that. You've also copied the PIN information. You know the specific PIN that goes with this property. So that's how you have this information. And you add that. So now you have this private link here. And so if you're on the phone with the customer and they're saying, hey, well, I'm interested in that land that you have in whatever county it is in. Let's see, this one says Duval, which I know that's in Florida, but anyway, you're in a specific county and they call out the APN, and so they say, okay, you can come right into your record and you go right to your links area, and okay, don't forget to, I'm not going to forget to update your record so that it always saves your link, saves your information. You can come right in here and you can hit this link, and remember this is a private link. It's going to go right into that particular county map. It's going to go right to that location, and it's going to show you picture of this property, what streets it's located between, and then give you all this additional information over here to the right that you can then discuss. It's just a quick way for you to see what that property looks like from within the Investment Dominator. So that's the reason for having this public, or excuse me, this private link. And now if you wanted to create, now this is not going to show up on your listing, by the way, because it's marked private. So those won't be seen. But now if we were to put a public link on the site, remember, public links will display on your property listing below the property description. So we're going to mark this one public, and we're going to make it real easy. It's just going to be a real quick Google search. So you can pretend this is something that may go to a website that tells someone about the school districts in the area. It may tell them about certain activities. If it's a big NASCAR area, it may point that out, and it would be an actual link that they could call up. Let me see, I'll get some of your questions around this as soon as I finish with this little this demonstration here. So our title is going to just be, it's a Google search. Description, we're going to look at just a simple Google search. No big deal. Again, the URL, this is going to be something that you're going to have from your address bar. Okay, and we know that for a Google search, what we need is a simple www.google.com. Now this post vars, of course, this is the specific information you're going after. So, and you would have all of that if you were looking at a specific ad on, for that area, and show someone, access to a good school system. You would have this specific information in your address bar, and you would take it, simply from your address bar. So we're going to say Q equal Arizona. That's actually a search. It puts this in, it's going to put this Arizona into your Google search location. So that's actually what this particular link is. And this is going to go, again, this is going to go on your listing. So we'll hit that, we'll add it. and it comes in. Now you could hit it right here if you wanted and actually execute this, but we're not going to do it here. We're actually going to update our record, and we're going to go in and generate a listing. Okay, and up comes our listing. Now, of course, this is not following our AIDA principle. It's not, it's not capturing our attention. This is not anything fancy. This is just to show you and demonstrate what the links are. And here they are. So this one link that we made public. Remember, in Investment Dominator, anything that you make public is going to show on your listing. That's one of the consistencies with Investment Dominator. So here we have, and when I click on this link from my actual listing, it brings up google.com and it puts Arizona into my search. So this is something where the customer could be searching an area that you're, consistent with what the parcel that you're selling. They could be searching an area and they come up and it puts their search criteria right there, and all they have to do is hit enter and it will take them in anything having to do with Arizona, simple as that. So, okay, so that's an example of a public and a private link. And we're actually, featuring this because this puts a lot of information right at your fingertips within the Investment Dominator, and also will help you supply information. Remember, links keep your sites and your listings very clean. Rather than me having to put a whole bunch of words in here about whatever I'm trying to link to, I have one quick link, and there's your information. So that's what it is being used for. So we had a question, how does the Investment Dominator, if you want to delete a link, so deleting a link, how does the Investment Dominator, how does ID notify you? Okay, and I just want you to see that process as well. If we're here on our screen, we have links down here, and this is probably going to be the end of our discussion here. As we get ready to delete either one of these links, let's say the public one, and I say delete, so Investment Dominator is going to say this link will permanently be removed. Press the confirm button to proceed. So you'll know it's as simple as that you're about to delete a link, and you have an option to cancel and come out of there, or go ahead and delete that link. And if I say confirm, okay, there it is. That link is gone, and it's just that simple. So let's see. Okay, so we have a couple questions around this. Carlos is asking, is the PIN number similar to the APN? No, it's another unique identifier. And I actually shouldn't say no. It's more like yes, it is similar to the APN in that it is a unique identifier, like the APN is a unique identifier for that parcel. However, the APN is something that is more publicly communicated, especially on the different sites, your county sites. It's like a constant. You always have an APN. Now there are some sites that you may not have a PIN number. They might call it something else, but you may not always have a PIN. But on every site, if you're dealing with any county data, you will always have an APN. So it's just another unique identifier that that you can further identify that particular parcel with the PIN. And usually the PIN is associated with more of the GIS side or the map side. So, and Don, you were asking, is there any reason why you would not want to share this link as public. And I think you might be talking about my private link. This you could make public if you wanted, but it really wouldn't serve the customer. As a matter of fact, I would not make it public. Um, one of the main reasons I wouldn't want to make this public, because you remember, if you go in here and it loads up your information about this particular parcel, your then your customer, which a lot of the educated buyers anyway know what the county assessed value is. A lot of them, go and they look up the county assessed value. Now, we've had several customers that have purchased land from us. They compare our prices with the other prices of land that they see in that same area, but they don't really, a lot of them don't come into the county records and actually look for the county assessed value. Now, of course, if you have an investor or you have a builder, they're going to know what the county assessed value is. So, you could share this, and they would come in here and because they'll come in here anyway and find out this information. But someone that wants to build a house, a lot of our buyers for our property have never ever purchased land before. So they don't even know how to come into a county record and determine the county assessed value. They're simply going to look at our price for our property compared to another parcel. If it's 2 acres, they're going to look at another 2-acre parcel and say, oh, wow, that 2-acre parcel is much more expensive than WM Agape's 2-acre parcel. So I'm going to purchase from them. So that's one reason why I would not make this type of link public, so that they don't get in here and get a whole bunch of information, and it'll just lead to more questions for you to answer. So that's been my experience, and I would definitely hold off certain links private. This information, of course, is for you when you're on the phone and you just want a quick look, trying to remind you of what that property looks like. And so much so, before they came out with this link, I personally, I would come down, I would always have a picture of that county property on my file, so I could just scroll down and hit this and I could see a picture of an actual county map. So I could see what my property looks like, and I could see where the streets were. I used to do that, but it's just as easy to have a link that goes to the same place. Okay. So any more questions on links? Let's see. I don't see any more questions on links. We going to kind of switch gears here, and we have another question from Don on how, let's see, how long after a mailing without any response do you wait to decide if it was a dud? So how long do we wait after a mailing? I guess you're actually asking to determine if we are going to do any more mailings. Any more letters. And you'll basically have a feel, Don, for that particular area. If you mail out, 500, 600, 700 letters, we usually will give it at least 2 to 3 weeks. So because we actually mail to different counties every single week. So 1 week we might include, one county plus, county B. And then the next week we might include county B and then county C. So we will have, another set, two counties that are going out, but one may be the same county we mailed to the week before. That's kind of how we approach it. So if I sent out, 500 letters or so, or I've mailed a couple of mailings, anywhere from 500 to 1,000 records to one county, and I look back at in my offers after maybe 2 weeks or 3 weeks or so. If I look back and I look in my pending preliminaries, let's see, I can just go offer request, and I look back at my pending preliminary research records, and I don't see anything from those counties or that one county that I think is kind of a dud. Um, I'm gonna probably move on to another county, because, and especially if it's a new county that I am just now um, getting into. If I've had previous experience with the county, I might stay with it. But if I do not know that county and I'm just now checking it out, I'm going to give it 2 or 3 weeks and see what kind of response I get, and then I'll determine um, if it's a dud. If I mail 1,000 records out to a county, and I end up with maybe one or two offer requests, and I look at my volume of phone calls that might have come in through Pat Live, or and I see these prospect records that went out, but okay, here I am 3 weeks later, and I just have a couple of offer requests. I might slow down on that county. Now I'm not going to throw it out completely, and here's why. Because sometimes people take your offers, your letters that you send out, and they might let them sit for a couple of months, and then they come across it in their junk mail, or they put it somewhere and they say, well, I'll check with them later on. And when they really need some money, they say, hey, that company was really ready to buy my property, so let me go back. I think it was Jack that was just saying not too long ago that he came across, you guys might have heard this, he came across a someone that sent him a letter from or asked him for an offer on property. I think he said they said they wanted to accept his offer, but it was from time like 2007, 2007, and here we are in 2019, where I mean, come on, that's 12 years. 12 years, somebody hung on to his paperwork and finally came back and said, hey, can you, are you still interested in buying my property? That's a long time. But that's another reason for having, the same phone number and having the same mailing address, because people pick up their letters after many, many years and they still want to do business with you. So I said all that to say, Don, don't count it out as dud just because, you get, very, very slow response. Now, um, that said, you might want to slow down mailing so many to that county and beef up another county where you're getting a lot of response. I would probably do that. Maybe instead of mailing 500 or 400 to that county, I might only mail 100 or maybe 200 to that county, and I'll mail majority of my letters to another county. And you kind of get a feel for that as you continue to mail to those counties. Okay. So we are moving on here. We had another question from Greg. Okay. This is a question around the use of tags, and usually we get quite a few questions on tags. Let me see if there's anything I've missed here. Okay. $1,800,000 with this county not be good. Okay. I'm going to have to look into a couple of these questions. They're going to require a little research on my end, because I don't want to give you all bogus information. Hey, why do we use tags um, in our land records? All right. Well, one of the main reasons we can use tags, a lot of folks decide they're going to have multiple sources for their county data. Some may use Agent Pro 247. And so they get some records from Agent Pro 247, and then they'll get another source for their list, maybe, Rebo Gateway, in the same. So, and they're mailing from Rebo Gateway, and they're mailing from Agent Pro 247. Or they might have put together a county list on their own, and they want to be able to track basically if their source is a good source, like the records they're getting out of Agent Pro 247. Are they good records? So here in our record system, in each record, there is a field called tags. All right. And it helps you group and organize your property records by category. Multiple tags can be added to a single property record. So that is basically the reason we use tags. And if I were to bring up just real quick a search our user guide and importing, just want to let you know that if you want how to import your list for land investing, in your import file, we do have a tag. Here we have a tags field, and it's a optional field. So how could that help you on your records coming in, importing? If you're getting a bunch of records from Agent Pro 247, and let me show you what I would do. Okay. I personally, because I'd want to know if the data that I'm getting there, is it really paying off? So if I were to take, I'll just take up simple, hopefully this has a good, okay. This is a good example of an import file. And let's say I got this import file that I'm going to now import into Investment Dominator, and all of these records came out of Agent Pro 247. So what I might do is I might just stick a address, property, city. I might just stick another field in here, tags, and I might call that all these records coming in, Agent Pro, and let's see, how might I want to name that? So tags, and I might just say tag 247. Okay, without the Agent Pro. So that would be my tag for all these records coming in. So I know that all these records coming in, I have basically all these records now are from Agent Pro 247. And when I bring them, I import them into Investment Dominator, I'm going to track them in my deal flow and make sure that if I import records from 247, they're going to get me something. So to setting up a tag in the Investment Dominator is very simple. You simply come up under Customize and Tags. And see, I've added some tags. You can just add a tag right here. And I might add a tag Rebo 01. So that's for the Rebo Gateway tag. So I added that tag. And I might add a tag dash 247, something like that. Okay. So I've added two particular tags, tag Rebo 01 and tag 247. In adding those tags, Now, any records that come in to that I import into Investment Dominator, if I don't have a tag on them, I can tag them using one of these tags, or I can select records in Investment Dominator based on these tags. So if I were to select these first 4 records, so we have record 281, 282, 285, and 287, and I'll come over here and I'll say tag them. So if I didn't import them, I could tag them at this point. And I'll just say I'll tag these with Rebo 01. All right. Confirm tag. Okay, 4 records have been successfully updated in your system. So it has now tagged records 281, 282, 285, and 287 with my tag. And what's that look like? If I went in and edited the record, come down and see now I have this tag Rebo 01 associated. So now all throughout my deal flow, these records, they came out of Rebo. I'm going to be able to track and see what type of response I get. And I'll select these other 4, 265, 266, 268, and 269. And we're going to tag them. Now this is, of course, if you didn't tag them in your import. I'm going to tag them with 247. That should be showing up there just so it lets me know what tag. But in any case, 4 records there. Okay. 269. Okay, so those records are now tagged. Tag 247 is associated with all those records now. So that's how you tag your records so that you now group them. And I have Rebo Gateway records and I have my 247 records. And we're getting down here to the end of our time, but I'm gonna see if I can finish this up real quick. So these records are always going to be tagged so you can determine what your outcome is as you follow these through the deal flow. And as you put them on your website and then you sell those properties, you realize, okay, I sold those properties, they came out of my Rebo Gateway information, or I sold them, it came out of my 247, my Agent Pro 247. Now the beautiful thing about this that we have set up in Investment Dominator is you can remove a tag just that simply. Now, right now in my records, I have certain tags that have been created. If I go back in here, this is how you would clear a tag, and you clear it out of your database. So you could have hundreds of records that have, or even 1,000 records that could have Rebo Gateway tag on them or 247. The moment I come in here and I edit this and I delete this tag, the moment I do that, that's going to get rid of this tag and any other reference in the database that has this record tagged. I want to prove that to you. So right now, if I did a search, do an advanced search real quick, and I say my tag contains tag 247. When I do that search, I'm going to come up with 4 records because those are the 4 records I set up. So if I go back in here now and I delete this tag, customize tags, and I get rid of this tag by editing it and saying, okay, delete this tag. So the tag is deleted successfully. And I come back in now and I try to do a search for that particular tag. You can see I can't even search because that tag is now gone. And every record that tag was on, the 247 records, now no longer have the tag 247. It's just this empty spot there. So that's how you tag, and then you could remove a tag, and that's the beauty of it. It'll remove every single tag in the system. Now, we always get the question, Well, what if I want some of my records to have the tags removed, but not all of them? Well, unfortunately, you can't do that. If you remove a record, if I want to remove this record right here, if I want to remove this tag, but I want to keep the other records to have Rebo on them, I have got to physically come in here and remove this tag by deleting it and updating my record, so that record by record, I would have to do that. It's no way through Investment Dominator to determine which records you want to remove the tag from, because if you remove that tag, it removes the tag from all of them in the database. And that's our discussion on tags, and that's all we have time for today, folks. Good questions, and I appreciate them. I just want to leave you with a parting thought, one that I come up with here from Vince Lombardi. Okay. The difference between a successful person and others is not a lack of strength and not a lack of knowledge, but rather a lack of will. That has to do with perseverance. That's from Vince Lombardi. So the difference between a successful person and others is not a lack of strength nor a lack of knowledge, but rather a lack of will. I want you all to go out there and continue to persevere in your business and enjoy. And we'll look forward to seeing you all in Denver, those of you that will be there. And I'll be here back here on Thursday at 12 noon. All right. Have a good evening, folks, and a good week. Take care now. Bye-bye.